Bismillah. Welcome back, Zoo Crew. This is the final day of our staycation. I'm going to be heading home tomorrow, given that I don't really want to be here when my family gets back from their trip, you know? And I think all in all, it was probably the right decision not going to London. Like, obviously, it would have been good to attend my brother's wedding, but just like the overall vibe that I got, not too good, you know? Plus, given like the whole fucking double standards around the situation, and then plus like, I'm pretty sure the whole time I would have been like thinking about Mina or like missing Mina, and then just being like annoyed that she's not there with me or that like we're not talking. And then plus like the whole kind of double standards of like when I was ready to get married, my parents weren't ready to support me, but then with my younger brother, like everyone was like, all right, like we're gonna support you even if we don't agree with you, you know? So it's pretty annoying. And then plus like this whole notion that like he doesn't even have a job right now, so my parents will be financially supporting him and his wife, but they weren't willing to kind of offer that same level of support to like me and Mina, you know? And I mean, it is what it is. Like, I'm over it, but like, it is annoying, especially given that like I'm the eldest son, and then like I'm still hearing all this crap these days of like, oh, like we need to like get you settled down now, and like we're so worried about your life, and it's like, bruh, you should have been worried about like getting me settled and like established like 10 years ago, not like now at the end when everyone else is kind of taken care of, you know? But that's literally like a great metaphor for my life. It's that like I was never really the priority, and then once everyone else is taken care of, then people are like, oh, okay, now let's figure out like what to do with Manzoor, you know? And I mean, it is what it is, you know? I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't go through all of this shit. The only kind of sad part about it is that like, because of all like the trauma and shit that I went through, I guess I ended up hurting Mina, and that's one thing I do regret, just given like I would not have grown as much as a person if not for her, you know? And it's been like a week now since we broke up or stopped talking. So definitely I do miss her, but then at the same time, it's like, well, she's chosen that like, she doesn't want to be with me. So it's like, I can't really change that. And I guess like the fucked up part about that is essentially like when somebody breaks up with you, they're pretty much betting against you that like you will fail in life and you won't accomplish anything, which is like sad and annoying because like when she did get the news that she passed her last exam, like that's the news we had been waiting for so long, because literally since I met her, I was like, oh, yo, like we should open our own clinic, you know? And I think that would have been a great business for both of us. And like, that would have been a business I would have really enjoyed like working on and like building. So I'm kind of sad about that, especially because like I can't just go open my own clinic. Like I need to have somebody who's like a vet, you know? And then had we been like married, like that would have been like the best business partner to have, right? So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Ultimately, like if we weren't even to get back together and just like partner and open this business, I think I'd be open to that. You know, I think we'd be good business partners because we are complementary opposites. And then plus like my parents have been like hounding me about this for the last like week or two, being like, oh, like we should buy you a business, or like what kind of business do you want to start? And it's like, bruh, like I've told you guys this stuff like so many times of like what I'm trying to do. And I guess that's the other reason why I wasn't really like too worried or like trying to get my own business off the ground, because in the back of my head, I was like, oh, well, when she gets her license, like we're going to open our own clinic anyways, and then like have like an animal rescue potentially, just given the state of the economy, you know? So I think that was part of the other reason why I was like, yeah, it's like if I open an online business or not, like it really doesn't matter, because having the clinic would be a much better business because it's like brick and mortar, it's physical, and it falls into the category where people will always be willing to spend a lot of money. So weddings, death, divorce, pets, these are like the four main categories people will generally spend all their money on, you know? And then I guess if we look at it in terms of like, if people can't afford to now keep their pet, this is where like the whole animal rescue comes in. So it's like a nonprofit that you'd run and get funding from the government, right? And like I said in a previous video, if you want to become a millionaire, the cheat code is getting into business with the government or like offering some kind of service where you're getting funded by the government, you know? Plus, to be honest, I much prefer animals to humans. Like, yeah, literally most humans suck. Most people are really shitty garbage. And it's much better to just kind of be alone with yourself. Or like books. Also, I realized that in the yesterday's video, I said like probably like 100 times or some shit, you know? So that could end up being like a fun drinking game for people who drink. You can go through all my videos and anytime I say like, you take a shot. Although I probably shouldn't say that because I don't condone drinking or promote these kind of things. It's just like a funny little thought, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I'm starting to feel like myself. However, I did wake up feeling a bit anxious today, and I guess it's just, it's been like a week now since I haven't really spoken to Mina, and then all the other things that are going on, you know? And I guess the other point, or like the final point for today, would be learn to listen to your body. So there's enough times where like, oh my God, I did it again. There's enough times when, let's say I'm feeling tired and my first response would be like, oh my God. Literally, I say like way too many times. But point being, like if I'm tired, I'll reach for like coffee or I'll reach for like an energy drink, right? And I think that's the case for most people instead of trying to figure out what's the root cause. So drinking water, having some salt or like electrolytes in your water. And I know I just did it again. And then outside of that, or just like going to sleep, you know? However, this is like the issue because, so I woke up somewhat early, but I went to sleep pretty late. And I knew that if I didn't wake up and now I woke up at like midnight, like not midnight, like 12 p.m. or something, I would have really fucked myself because I wouldn't have been able to take the Vyvanse. And if I did take the Vyvanse that late, I would have been up till like 2, 3 a.m. So I forced myself to wake up at like 8 a.m., took the Vyvanse, and then had a pretty bad headache throughout the day. And I knew it's because I was tired and I should have gone back to sleep, but I kind of just powered through, and then I would go and try and take a nap, but then I wasn't able to. And I think it's just like my brain had been so overloaded or like overstimulated, especially, I think this is a thing for a lot of people right now. They can't sit without some kind of like, oh my God, video or social media or background noise. And then for me, like I can't sleep without having some kind of like a noise going on, right? So I would use Headspace and then listen to these like sleep stories. So it starts with like a guided meditation and then some kind of a story, and then it just turns into like white noise. However, I canceled my subscription to that. And then lately, or not even lately, I'd say probably for the last like year and a half, and even like prior to using Headspace, I would just put on like a YouTube video or like random YouTube videos, like One Piece theories or like Harry Potter theories or like history stuff, like just random videos, and just let that play, or even like podcasts. And then I'd be like listening to it and then falling asleep. However, now that I'm saying this, I'm realizing when I like had my sleep schedule locked in pretty good, I would just read like a fiction book. So I was reading The Alchemist, so I would read a little bit at night until I got tired, and then I would go to sleep. And I wouldn't have this like constant noise playing, and then I would wake up feeling refreshed. And I guess this is because while I have these like videos playing and like I'm a quote unquote sleep, my brain is still like active and like picking up the sound or like trying to pay attention, you know? So it's very important to have like good sleep hygiene and a good sleep routine. And it's very easy to say like, yeah, you got to build habits and all this stuff, and like build discipline or like have motivation, but it's much easier said than done. Like you can't, especially if you have ADHD, like you have to be in the mood to get shit done because your brain doesn't produce any dopamine on its own and norepinephrine, so your executive function is all fucked up. So your sense of time is pretty warped, and I would say my sense of time is pretty warped, you know? But yeah, all in all, I mean, it is what it is. February 1st, tomorrow. So I'm planning to sleep at a reasonable hour, wake up, and then have a productive day, or at least try to have a productive day. Even though it is Sunday, so I don't want to be like pushing too hard. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably be out of here by like 2:30, head back to my place, and then clean up and prepare for the week, you know? Yeah, that's about it, you know? Hopefully I'll do a couple of these viewings and stuff, and then hopefully I'll have my interview at Civic Motors so I can figure out if I'm going to Civic Motors or if I'm going to stay at Prio, and then get started with my life, you know? As for like my ebook business and like all this other stuff, who knows if I'm gonna end up doing that. It's not really high priority right now. The main priority is moving, having my own place that's not an Airbnb, having some structure and income via the job, and my health, getting my health back in check, making sure I'm going to the gym, making sure I'm praying on time, rebuilding my routines, I guess you could say, you know? And I mean, part of me is also debating just like fucking deleting this YouTube channel and deleting all my social media and just disappearing and living in the real world, not the online world. But then at the same time, like a lot of the clips resonated with a lot of people, and people reached out, they were feeling inspired. A lot of people were going through the same thing, and it had some benefit, you know? So it's something I'm contemplating, something I gotta kind of decide. However, I really do think, like, so as much as I was saying, like, oh, I should get rid of my smartphone and have like a flip phone, I think for me to actually be able to do that, I would have to get like an iPad with cellular and then have that replace my phone. So I'm not using it to like call and text people, but then I can still use it to like access email. And if I need to like go post on YouTube or like social media or any of these things, you know? And like you may be thinking, oh, why don't you just use your laptop for that? And then the thing is, if I'm using a flip phone, how would I have, and like I'm somewhere without Wi-Fi, like my laptop is now pretty useless. Whereas the iPad, you can get the cellular version. So it like you have your own internet wherever you go, you know? Plus, like I don't really think I'll be doing Uber too much, or yeah, you know? So I really don't need the phone in that sense. However, I won't know until I start my job, right? Because one thing I used to do when I was selling cars, I would, like, let's say somebody submits a lead or something, and I would try and call them. If I couldn't get a hold of them, obviously I would leave them a voicemail, and then I would text them, but I would also like film a short video introducing myself and then send that via text to them as well, just so now they can put a face to the name and they know who they're talking to, and it becomes more real for them, right? Because sales at the end of the day, like you're transferring confidence from yourself to the other person, right? And this is why I say sales is literally everything in life. Really, sales is just one big game, and the more reps you put in, the better you get at it. And then you kind of pick up these little hacks or tricks along the way that will benefit your sales or like increase your closing rate, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm not really trying to control anything. I'm not really trying to force anything. I'm just doing my best and then leaving the rest in God's hands. Whatever's supposed to happen will happen, right? And that's really all we can do. And I guess that's the only real cure for overthinking and anxiety, you know? But yeah, I'm sure you guys can tell I'm like tired as I'm like talking and making this video. So that's it for today's Zoo Crew. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.